today we are welcoming Liesl. She's from Health Coach South Africa, and she's having a chat, and she's also in lockdown. Where are you based at the moment in lockdown, South Africa?
Hi, Nadya. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very privileged at the moment in the sense that I'm on the coast. So I've got a beautiful view to look at, and there's some dolphins coming up and down every day. So I feel very fortunate because, as you know, we all basically in the situation of level 4 at the moment in South Africa. And yeah, we've got very little movement space and liberties. So yeah, I feel grateful that at least I have something to look at other than the 4 walls of my home. And yeah, it's on the coast in the garden route. Beautiful part of our country.
Amazing. So what I wanted to ask you is, what does it mean to be a health coach? What is health coaching and what does it involve? If you had to describe what you do to someone who knows nothing about health coaching, what is it?
Right. So in essence, it's a relationship between 2 people that we create, whereas I am the coach, and then of course I have the client / patient, from whichever way you want to look at it. And very similar to life coaching and business coaching, which I think are more familiar to most people. But of course, now the shift is very much, or the attention is very much on your health. And, you know, if I could change the word health to well-being or wellness, I would have actually preferred that, because that is really what I do, is I take your hand and support you through a process, either through a very specific healing path that you engage in, or I just help you to make lifestyle changes and choices to benefit your well-being. So on the one hand, it can be for somebody that is interested in health management and health maintenance. And on the other side, it could be something as serious as, for instance, a person that has got a cancer diagnosis and they decide they want to change certain things in their life. They need guidance. They want to do changes in their dietary approach. They want to start engaging in movement and exercise. And they just want to look at a way to look holistically of how to treat this diagnosis, either as a standalone or as in conjunction with a medical treatment, as allopathic treatment for cancer, for instance. So it can, you know, play both these roles.
So for me, it's very interesting because I truly and utterly believe each person's got, I call it your flavor. You've got your own flavor of what you want to follow. Some people follow this, some people follow that, some people eat meat, some people are vegan, some people, so I'm happy for people to live their flavor. But for me, I have a belief that what we eat, what we really put into our body, is making up ourselves. So nutrition for me and who I am is almost impossible to not interconnect. And I really believe that food and what we put into our body in terms of nutrition is so important. But I also think that what's out there at the moment in terms of what is available, what is organic, what isn't, can we trust the stuff that people say is organic? Or if Willie says they're selling organic stuff, is it really organic? Where does it come from? The perspective of food that heals and food that harm. And so if someone like me doesn't know where to start, would you be a good person to come to say, I don't know what to eat or where to get it? Would you be able to help?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, that is probably one of the central things that I do with people, you know, is that because so, okay, let's backtrack a little bit. You know, when you engage in the coaching process, you ultimately are busy with a transformational process, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a total belief that any form of transformation needs to start with what you eat. And why I say that is fundamental in this process of transformation, because food changes your consciousness. And this is quite a bold statement. And for some people say, like, how can you say that? You know, because we have a concept, an idea that transformation, and specifically when it comes to consciousness, is something that is almost outside of you, and you engage in certain practices to access that.
Yeah.
So as a sort of a foundational principle in the work that I do is that I try to impart with my clients this idea is that everything that you put in your mouth, every part of the air that you breathe, the water we drink, the company we keep, the activities you keep yourself busy with, has an impact on your consciousness. But food specifically, because it literally becomes part of you, like you say, it becomes part of your cells, and we are energetic beings. So everything we eat has an energy, and you have your energy. So now you have a fusion of these energies, and that creates a specific frequency of vibration within your being. So for argument's sake, I recently had the experience again of indulging into a pizza, right? Now, immediately we can say, oh, what is so bad about eating a pizza? No, it's not bad. But that pizza is made, for instance, standardly, depending on where you buy or whether you've made it yourself, from wheat, which is at this stage on our planet mostly genetically modified. So it is not the original seed that it used to be in terms of wheat. Wheat used to be massive, tall plants. They now dwarfed into small plants because we want to quickly harvest them so that we can get it out in production and so forth. On top of that, the stuff is sprayed with horrible toxins and poisons, which are now all part of the seed, which then gets grounded, which ends up as your pizza dough, which now is put in the oven, and there you have your meal. I'm not even going to go into the fact that it's covered with cheese, which is a dairy product, which has a link to certain things that makes us ill.
Yeah.
The fact that it's melted cheese that's made it a very toxic oil to ingest. So now when you start to look at, for instance, just a pizza in that way, you have now a substance that has potentially at least 3 main categories of things that if I had to go and measure it against its energetic value and its frequency value, it will first of all be classified as foods that's highly acidic. So what we know now today from nutrition is that the higher the acidic value of food, the lower its frequency. So now I feed my holy sacred vessel, my body, with low frequency foods. And then I think I'm going to have the capacity or the ability to think high vibrational thoughts. You know, so what we eat influences our consciousness through the fact that it influences the way we look at the world, how we perceive the world, and what we think about the world we live in. So
I think, yes, that's absolutely true. And I think as you grow into eating healthy, and it's happened to me across quite a long period of time where I've adjusted what I eat, I've dipped into different things, but I can definitely say there's certain foods that when you eat it, and it's going to sound crazy, it makes you feel elated, it makes you feel good, it makes you feel very alive. And I told you just before we started this, I spoke to EcoSprout. Now, EcoSprout and Copeland, they're doing heirloom seeds. Now, when people don't know what heirloom seeds are seeds that have been untouched for 50 years or longer. The originals that you need to kind of be planting these days, the ones that are not genetically modified, that haven't been coated in all these things to make them resistant to pesticides and all this. We want to go back to what is wholesome again. But I do believe that when you eat something amazing, you feel so good. And I think we become so used to the toxic way of eating, we don't really know anything different. So when you're eating toxic food and you're going to go, I'm okay, I think I'm okay, I don't feel so bad, why should I change? It's because you don't know any different. And I think the only way to do it is to try all these new things. With my kids, it's the same. To introduce them to all these foods that they have to have as a way of living. Healthy eating isn't like, oh, I eat it because I want to diet, or because it's just, for me, a way that you live. Because if you want to, I want to be 140. I know it sounds crazy. And then people go, oh, but no, I don't want to be a sickly 140 with disease and inflammation. And no, I want to be super healthy, alive, activated, conscious, and 140. So that's what I want. And for me to get there, I need to be super healthy because I want to live long. And I think if we focus on what is important, someone like you becomes very, very important, because now I think a lot of people are shifting from just seeing what has happened in the medical industry. And this is just my opinion. Medical industry, I think a lot of people have lost their connection with diagnosing someone. And a lot of what they're doing is they're looking at a symptom list, tick, 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 test, 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 drug. This symptom, tick, 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 test, 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 another drug. And all of the people are medicated continuously. Well, I think a lot of our stuff can be healed with the way that we eat and the way that we think, which is where I work with our thoughts, our toxic thoughts that then have an effect on the body. And I think all of it is what you're talking about, holistics, right? The body, the mind, everything needs to have the higher vibration, to, because we are energetic beings, like you're saying. We're all vibrating, all our little cells, everything that on my computer's vibrating, in the wood, in the bed, in the, that's just science, which I can't get into because I don't know nuclear physics. But when you look at like the pandemic that we've got now, what tips can you give people? And I'm talking about ordinary people that haven't changed into healthy eating. What can you say some of your maybe top foods or things that they can introduce now that's going to help boost immunity or maybe decrease inflammation? But mainly we're talking about helping to keep the body and the immune system activated. That would be maybe the digestive system, or what would you suggest?
Right. So just before I answer that question is I just want to maybe mention this, that we have sort of grown all up in a world where we have disengaged and became disempowered when it comes to health. Health is almost something that we only really, and I'm talking very generally now, but that is unfortunately, and I see it from day to day, the attitude of people is that health is only something that you pay attention to once you've gotten sick. So therefore, sort of like health therefore then becomes the opposite then of I'm not diseased or ill, therefore then I will be healthy.
Yeah.
But we don't grow up in a culture that emphasizes the fact that each and every one of us needs to proactively cultivate our health and well-being. Health is not a guaranteed thing. The closest we can come to health as a guaranteed thing is that basically at birth, most of us has the best start to life and in the most perfect state of health that we probably know when we enter the world. Well, it used to be like that. But for instance, currently there is a test that's been done on babies on the first day of life. And these are babies that were born from mothers that were considered to be reasonably healthy during their pregnancy. And they tested these babies and found that they had on average 287 identifiable toxins, some of them even almost lethal toxins in their blood. So what does that tell you?
Baby.
Yes,
well, the
these babies.
The toxins can go from your body through the umbilical cord.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, remember, the baby grows in this fluid that is in the abdominal area of the mother, which is surrounded by all the main organs and fat cells and blood and lymph fluids. So whatever the mother then breathes, eats, do affects the development of the child. So in extreme cases, we know, for instance, when a baby grows in a mother that's an alcoholic, we know about this dire effect on the rest of the life of this child. So now we had mothers that were considered reasonably healthy, and then that was what's still present in their babies' lives, or in their blood, for instance. So we cannot deny the fact that everything in our world today at some level is contaminated. One would be totally asleep if we're not aware of the environmental stories that's going on in our planet. The huge impact of all of these things, whether it's plastic, whether it's gases, all of that. So, okay, so then to come back into the second part, or the question that we're dealing with right now is, one can make small and easy changes, on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. And, that's, for instance, where coaching is so amazing, because, Rome wasn't built in one day, so that's the same thing with health. First of all, it's something that you actually need to engage in on every single day of your life for the rest of your life.
Yes.
It's not the doctor's responsibility to keep you healthy. It's not the hospital, and it's definitely not your medical aid's responsibility to keep you healthy. That is one of the most empowering things in life, if we actually start to own this responsibility to act in a way that can guarantee you to live until whatever age. Because there's, for instance, an amazing a Taoist saying that say, if you die before the age of 120, you have died too young. And it's we've just assumed, that old age equals being diseased. It's almost like, we have a very sad joke that we sometimes say, in the natural health world is, it's like there's this big five. In South Africa, we have the big five related to the big, the animals in our animal kingdom. We have a big five in health as well. By the age of 50, normally, if you start going for your medical checkups, then it's almost like, okay, did you get all five, or are you lucky and you only have 1 out of 5 of things that's now starting to go wrong with you, because now you are going to fall into that stream of constant medication, chronic medication, all these diagnostic sort of disease processes. And why do we think that is normal? At what stage did we become so disconnected from our own power as powerful beings? I mean, ultimately, aren't we the sons of God? To use a biblical term, we come from that. We come from something that is so powerful. We have no concept how powerful it is. And yet, we just think it's normal that anything from midlife onwards, it's okay to have diabetes, it's okay to have heart problems, it's okay to have parts of your body removed because they've got cancer or whatever. So no, that is a lie. I'm going to be 50 in 2.5 weeks' time. And I've made a pact to myself, is that just like you, I am going to go for gold for as long as my soul's destiny is on this planet. And I want to be as fit and as healthy and as vibrant and as active as I possibly can be until the day I drop dead. Hopefully that will be, by the grace, to be the way I'll go, and I'll just drop, and doing something that my heart told me to do, So, but that's something that I think people need almost to be reminded of, is that, yes, that is the potential, but you have to choose it. And it starts with all the choices you make on a daily basis. Nobody, I also don't want to now veer into that area of, because that is something that trip people up as well, is that they have this concept of perfection. I'm not saying go for perfection, because you are that already. It's not something that you need to tip as a goal. For instance, in coaching, we like to give people goals to work towards, because I think most of us identify well with the idea is, I need to go for that. Then I know what to do. It's systematic and there's a process involved. Okay, so what would be, for instance, a daily activity what one can do? If we want to talk food, I would say for me, and basically this comes very specifically from the fact that I focus very much on detoxification and regeneration of cells, whether you do that for weight loss or whether you do it to treat cancer. There is no way that we can deal with the active disease process in the body if you're not going to go and detox your body properly first, and preferably then engage into a lifestyle that will allow that going forward. Because the toxins on our planet is not necessarily going to disappear overnight. We don't know. We don't know what the future holds for us. But reasonably, at this stage of life, we can assume that we still have a massive environmental toxic problem on our planet, whether it's the food we eat, whether it's the air we breathe, the water we drink. So we need to be proactive and deal with our well-being in a way that addresses the fact that even with the most clean diet, there's still toxins in the air or in the water that can affect us. So one of the biggest valuable things that I think I can share today is the introduction of fruit eating. Now, I just have to say that I had my own journey with fruit. I've always loved fruit from childhood. And then it got to a stage where I became so concerned about the toxicity of food. And fruit, by its nature, is one of the most heavily sprayed foods that we produce on our planet, because it needs to provide for, transport and overseas travels of the fruits. And so there's all these reasons and justifications for why it's so heavily sprayed. So at one point, I also got to the point and said, well, is there really still value for me in eating fruit? Because I'm just put all these bad toxins into my body. Yeah. So that doesn't mean that that's not true yet. But nowadays, we do have the option. You can look for organic fruits. Yeah. You can hopefully start planting your own fruit trees, and we need to get going with that, because you don't want to wait 20 years before you've got a fruit-bearing tree. But then there's also other things we can do. You can actually wash your fruits. You can wash it, for instance, with bicarbonate of soda, and you soak it for 15 to 20 minutes, your fruit, and just to make sure that you've covered all the bases, if you didn't get to all the toxins on there, I totally believe in blessing my food. Mm-hmm. So when I say blessing my food is, I literally would take my hands, I would hold it over my plate of freshly cut fruits, and I would ask that this fruit will be for my highest good, and that my body will be protected against anything that's in the fruit that's not for my highest good. That's what I say. What anyone else want to say in terms of putting that blessing over your food? Because remember, again, we're energetic beings. So why can't we work energetically with the food that we put in front of us? So why fruit? Fruit is the most detoxifying food you can eat. So now also when I talk fruit, I'm not saying put blobs of yogurt on top of your fruit and a handful of nuts and seeds and granolas. That is the sort of a la mode way of eating fruits, and that's what's been thrown at us, whether it's Pinterest or magazines, or because it looks very nice. I'm talking about fruit in its most basic and simplest form. Quickly then, why fruit? Fruit is filled with all kinds of vitamins and phytonutrients and all sorts of antioxidants, which is fantastic for the body and cellular regeneration. So it's almost like the anti-rust factor, those qualities of those nutrients that we want to ingest. But more than that is, fruit is one of the highest water-containing foods that we can ingest. So when we eat a lot of fruit, we are hydrating the cells from an intercellular way. So just to explain the difference between drinking a glass of water and eating a fruit. If I drink a glass of water, you can almost relate it to the effect in the body as if you go and you give your cells a shower. So the water goes down your throat, gluk, 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 and it washes over the cellular environment. Great, we know that it's important, especially when the body has a lot of acidity in it, to wash it out. But the difference is when I eat fruit, the water content of the fruit is delivered to the cells in a way that the cells absorb it into the cells, and you have that plump effect. So you would, for instance, see that people that eat lots of fruit don't have a lot of wrinkles, for instance, even at a later stage of their life. So, I mean, just hashtag on the side here, if you want to get into rejuvenation activities, eat a lot of fruit. Yeah, I mean, that is phenomenal. And also,
it's better than Botox. Who cares? Exactly. The thing is, I'm getting older and I'm thinking I need to eat more fruit. But you know what is very important, Liesl, as well? I look at my 2-year-old, and you know what she naturally chooses out of everything? Fruit.
Yeah.
That's what she does. And that's what my daughter did, the first one, who's now 12. She still does it because that's what I led her to eat the things that her body's looking for. She's eating lots of salad. She makes, the other day, my husband said, Angelica's having lunch and she's just cut up loads of salad and this and like a whole bowl of just like cucumber, tomato, lettuce, spinach, just a whole bowl of nutrition. That was her lunch. And he was like, well, what is she going to have bread or this? Your body
Yeah,
signals, we just have forgotten to listen a little bit and we've become a little bit lazy. Convenient. What's
exactly. Look,
convenient? What's quick? What can I get at the shop quickly? Because I'm so overworked and stressed out. I really don't feel like cooking tonight. I'm going to get that recipe. And it looks pretty healthy. I have no idea what's in it. But hey, man, it's quick and easy. And we forget that when you're building your well-being, like you're talking about, that's going to have to last you until your last days. And if you mess it up here, I mean, it's quite important. I always explain to my kids as well, these are building blocks that you need the foundation. The moment you grasp it and you get it, it's there. And I think you will then continue to choose it. And even when I was pregnant in my last pregnancy, it was like heaven sent because yes, I did before, and I still sometimes do eat bread because I'm a really big, I don't know, I like it. But what I realized that when I was pregnant, I couldn't. I couldn't eat it. I couldn't eat it. My body couldn't digest it. All that I lived off, avocados, salad. I had salad all day long, chickpeas. It was like my body couldn't process all the stuff that I knew wasn't really good for me. It wouldn't take it. I'd get heartburn. I'd feel sick. I'd have nausea. So eventually, I actually, during my pregnancy, I didn't, 2 weeks after my kid was born, I was back to my weight because I didn't really put on any weight because all the weight was just the baby weight. In fact, I think I probably lost physical fat because my diet was so clean. It was so good. It's almost like my body said, listen to me. I know what your baby needs, and this is what your baby needs. And what I ate was totally different. It was really super healthy. And then yes, looking for all the organic stuff. And there are places, I mean, it's a little bit harder. So people become lazy because sometimes what used to put me off was like they only order on a Wednesday and I might have missed the ordering date or the delivery's not in my area anymore, stuff like that. So I think when you talk about well-being, it's a lifelong commitment. And yes, we can all take steps towards that. And I think it's important that we start gearing instead of looking for the nearest quick fix and pill and whatever. I think we need more health coaches and well-being coaches in the world so that you can support us through that journey. So someone, like you're saying, to show you and help you along the way so that it becomes part of who you are and your lifestyle.
exactly. And to just to go back to the origin of health coaching. I studied, for instance, for an institute in America, and they were the people that actually coined the term health coaching, this specific foundation. And the reason why they developed it, and this goes back 25 years ago already in America, so it's a well-established modality and function that you can engage in as an American, for instance, was to fill that gap between the medical profession and the patient. Because we all know that doctors don't do nutrition. That's not their study field, that's not their expertise. They are trained to work with medicine, pharmaceutical drugs, operations, and so forth in their approach to health and disease management. But when it comes to wellness creation, we need to look at different things, so now things like the exercise, the movement, the de-stressing practices, food, nutrition, all of these become important, and that is what a health coach is trained in. So we don't work in opposition to medical doctors. For instance, we are supposed to take hands to give you, the patient or client, the best holistic treatment or management or lifestyle changes that will benefit your wellness. So in South Africa, unfortunately, it's still a bit of a new thing. So we are still being sort of thrown into the alternative corner, that with all the sort of alternative healers in our country. And we are really the origin of health coaching in itself was designed to become this bridge between, okay, the doctor has given you a diagnosis of XYZ, you've gotten your prescriptions for your medication, health coach, and now the health coach can help you to hopefully get you medicine free, and you can beat whatever your diagnosis is. Oh, I see we've got an unstable connection. So yeah, so it's it's again that mindset of us getting to the understanding that it's a proactive responsibility to deal with your wellness every single day. And it doesn't have to become this chore, because the more healthier you become, the more vibrant, the more energy you have, the more clearer your mind is, the more creative you are able to operate. So there's only wins involved. If you do lots of daily exercise and movement, endorphins are through the roof. Your happiness factor is up there. I really battle with the idea why people see becoming healthy or being focused on health is such a lust. It's such an effort. It's such a tedious thing to do. Whereas, like, I can do anything I want to do. If I want to run up a mountain, I can do that. I might not get first, but I'm not looking at the mountain path and saying, oh no, I can't do that. Whereas if you look around us, and you see how many people even battle to walk from their car into the shopping center, and you see at the way they walk, it's like we're starting to morph into this weird androgynous sort of strange behavior. And I look at that, and there's sometimes people in their 30s and 40s, and I think, oh my goodness, you are in the prime of your life, and I can see your vitality is at close to zero. People are out of breath. They are literally, they look unhappy, and I'm not saying every so-called more unhealthy person is necessarily unhappy, but I would do make the argument that your happiness factor runs parallel to your level of health. Yes. It's very difficult to be super unhappy if you are vibrantly healthy, because you have created chemistry in your body. I mean, our bodies is the most amazing alchemical factory, where all these chemicals and hormones are, flushing around. So those chemicals will either be chemicals that increases your happiness and your joy for life, or it will be chemicals and hormones that is going to decrease your joy and happiness for life. Think of something like depression. Please give me a diagnosed person with depression. Give them for me for 3 months. And I promise you, by the end of that 3 months, they will be medicine free, and they will come out of there with a big smile like that. By that, I'm not belittling the fact that some people have this diagnosis of depression and it's going on for however long. But if we would just take a little bit of attention to focus on rebalancing the chemicals in their body and the hormones through simple things like diet, relaxation practices, emotional things like EFT, where you tap out all these stored, trapped emotions, and you shower them with love and compassion and understanding, and you give them a kick-ass diet on top of that, why would they still be depressed? Because it changes their chemistry, and that will change their consciousness.
Yeah.
So it
is going to get them. Because it gets them out of victimhood, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can't be a victim anymore. The moment you take charge of your life, which I think is the first activation as well, when I struggle with some of my clients or patients, whatever again you want to call them, sometimes just that first step, because I think we sometimes want the quick fix for our life. We want a quick fix for our mental health. And I think that's why we reach for stuff that's instant. I think the moment you grasp that that power is within your reach, every one of us can have a healthy, beautiful body that's going to function optimally, and a mind. They're connected. This reflects here. Our thoughts are reflected in our body. Our body is reflecting what we're eating and drinking and thinking. Your body is your signaling system, right? We've got to look at it. And it's also the thing that is keeping you alive here, being able to experience this awesome planet that we have, to hear, to feel, to smell, to taste, to see. The thing that I realize is the moment your health goes, like you talked about health and happiness, we're all great when we're not diseased or when nothing's wrong. The moment
Yeah.
you feel something's wrong, you're like, oh, suddenly then it becomes important. But I think it needs to be important from day one, from birth, from baby. We need to help to re-educate ourselves and to take that effort. No, being healthy doesn't take effort. It's the fact that we've become accustomed to something else. And now the change we think is going to be difficult. It's not difficult. We've just got to get out of the state of, we need to start doing a little bit more instead of expecting life to kind of just bring all these things. We want health, we want happiness, we want mental health. We want to be spiritual beings. We want to be connected. We want to be good. We want to earn money. We want to have all of this, but we want the instance. And yeah, health is something that you have every day. You have a choice every day what you are putting into your body, into your mouth. And every day we can spend a little bit more time focusing on what are we thinking that's toxic, you know? Are we thinking beautiful things? Are we seeing a beautiful world out there? Or are we seeing the decay and destruction, which is sometimes now more apparent? People are very fear-driven and scared at this time. Some people, um, and other people are okay, and they're actually taking the time to get back to basics. You know, people are meditating more, spending more time with their kids. Have the time now. I have time in the morning. Suddenly, I'm doing Pilates again, which I haven't done since the last month of my pregnancy when I stopped. You know, I stopped in month 9. I was like, okay, okay. I could have probably carried on, and I started again because suddenly I'm like, hey man, I'm doing this for me. This is for me, because I started thinking, exercise, I hate it. I hate doing Pilates. It's so hard. And then by day 2 or 3, feel so good. I was like, oh, I want to do it now. This is good. And it kind of activated a whole series of events. It made me more smiley. It has. As much as
Yeah.
I'm doing the plank and going like, oh God, not longer. How long is this plank going to go on for? It suddenly made me feel, I feel my body's alive. And that is
Mm.
what I want. I want to feel alive, and I want to feel good being alive. And that has to be part of what we eat, what we think, who we are. And that's why I think this is important. And I just want you to almost think, as a closing thought, what would you say about how Corona virus, COVID-19, this lockdown in 2020, what does it mean to you as a person? How has it impacted your life and your work? And is there maybe a message out there that you can, send to someone maybe in the future, or even people watching now?
Okay. Wow, that's a big question, hey? And I think we all sort of, in a process of getting to terms with, this happening on our planet. I said to a friend the other day, imagine I told you in the beginning of January, on the 1st of January, I said to you, 3 months from now, every person in the world is going to be locked down in their home. And, whatever conditions you wanted to add on to that, we all exposed to now, they would have laughed at you and said, oh, no, man, you crazy. Why do you even think horrible stories up like that, So for me personally, I think like every person, we have our waves of where we are. I find myself oscillating between the one moment I'm super in, I'm aligned, and I'm totally moment, and everything is just amazing, and I can see this incredible future ahead of us. And 2 days later, I'm ready to, I don't know, join an activist group, and, join a group
Drop
that
off
we
the mask.
watch, because our freedoms are being taken away from us, and people are not even realizing it's happening, and it's right in front of our eyes and under our noses. So there's these fluctuations, but apart from this human side of me, and I think all of us have a little of that, if I really have to go into my heart space, I have an incredible amount of peace and wonderment around what is going on our planet right now. Because I think as a spiritual seeker, we, for many, many years in my personal life, we have heard of this time in our life and this time on our planet where there is going to be this massive shift. And, none of us can really with absolute certainty say how that's going to look and what it's going to be like. But the peace and calmness I have in my inner being is that, oh, okay, so this is it. Yes, and it might be dressed up now as a virus, which, we can have a whole other Zoom around that and my attitude and opinions around that. But, it's typically, the theater, the play has a certain theme and it's got a certain dress code and certain decor, and for me, I put the whole pandemic virus part of this thing as that. But then behind the actors and behind the costumes and behind the decor, there's a bigger theme that's going on. And for me, that's the part that I hold on to. That's the part where I go to when I also have my fearful moments, just to remind myself, we came here for this. As souls, I firmly believe that we chose and we have that choice because we're on a planet of free will to incarnate in this existence right now, and that we each have a role to play. And for me, that doesn't even have to be a complicated role. It doesn't have to be that I'm going to head up the next World Health Organization once we've liberated it from whatever we think of it right now. It could just be that every single conscious moment that I can remember who I am. And that is that I am that Son of God, if I want to refer to it as that, or that I am spirit having a human experience. And therefore, my vehicle is definitely important, because on this planet, in this dimension, right now, my spirit is hosted in a body. That is the chosen vehicle for my experience on planet Earth right now. So I need to treat my body with the highest reference possible, because without this body, my spirit cannot have its human experience right now. So don't wait till you're sick in a bed. Don't wait till you get a virus to all of a sudden realize that I've got the most phenomenal designed immune system that we don't even have a fraction of an idea yet how phenomenal it is. But it has kept me alive and so many people on this planet up to this moment in time. And we've lived through eons and eons of viruses, and yet we managed to, as a majority of us, live through that. Why? Because our immune systems deal with viruses. But if you are already a sickly person, you've got work to do, because your immune system is under par while it's dealing with your rheumatoid arthritis, while it's dealing with your cancer diagnosis, while it's dealing with your toe that you've just injured. You cannot expect now for that immune system to have the same efficacy as somebody that is in absolute optimal health and now has to deal with the virus. So that is where the part that comes in, is that we take that responsibility. Yes, I've got a Rolls Royce where my spirit lives in, but that Rolls Royce right now either can run on petrol, diesel, or electricity. But that is its energy source. And if I am not going to plug it into the current energy sources that's available to me, it's going to end up rusting in the garage, isn't it? So the same with our bodies. If I'm not going to put the best fuel into my body and give it the best attention and wash it and polish it and do hygiene practices to keep the internal environment optimal, so that I can have magnificent, higher quality thoughts, how am I going to expect to go forward in life? Because this stuff has changed. We all can feel that life has changed dramatically. And, so our approach to how we do things is going to have to change. And for us to know what that means and what it looks like, we're going to have to start doing things differently. We're going to have to start eating differently. We're going to have to start thinking differently and doing differently. So that's what I feel motivated around this. I feel that this is an important time on our planet, and we're here for a reason. And if we can just make conscious decisions for being loving, high vibrational beings every single day, I think we're going to be super okay. I think we're going to be flying out of this eventually, but we need to all come on board with this kind of attitude or approach, if that
Yeah.
would be possible.
Awesome. What a beautiful message to end off on. And I think everything you said is so valuable. And I've always believed our bodies are the most beautiful creation ever. When you start looking into the body, the mind, the self, I mean, it's like a whole universe in itself. It's beautiful, it's magnificent, and I think respecting this beautiful vehicle and treating it well, like you are saying, treating, respecting, honoring it is going to help us move forward. We've got a choice. Do we want to continue what we did before and we see what the results are there? Or can we all now use this pandemic, virus, whatever it is, event in life to start really realigning to the beauty of it, looking at beauty, eating beautifully, respecting each other, treating the world with respect, cleaning up our planet? And I think we're ready. I think we're ready for the new change and the new movement to healthier, happier, more beautiful, cleaner, greener, whatever it is, and whatever it looks like for each person in their own little unique way. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your beautiful wisdom and insight and your time with me. And I think this is such a valuable interview for people to listen to. So once I'm done, I'm going to post it. But I just want to say thank you, Liesl. I'm going to stop the recording in a moment, but I still want to continue talking to you. But I just want to say really from my heart, beautiful. Thank you for your beautiful message and your contribution to not just the interview, but to this planet. You know, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadya. It was absolutely wonderful to speak to you about this. And I appreciate you for taking the time to document this moment for us. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I think I'll try and connect with you after lockdown as well. I catch up with everyone that I talk to see, once we come out of it, what you are feeling and thinking, if that's okay with you.
Okay, wonderful. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.